Welcome to Power Apps Session 5. For those of you who've been with me for 1 through 4 sessions, welcome back. And for those of you that are new to it, welcome. So let's just take a look at where we left off from Session 4 and see all of the work that we have put into this and where we're currently at. So if I hit the play button up here, we're going to go into Preview. The whole goal of this is to check students in. So I'm going to come over here and maybe look for, let's say I want to check in Rishi. Or actually not check them in. Right now the way this is set up is if I click on Rishi, I'll see all of his check-in records. And so I see all of his records. And this is what we did last session. We decided to put a delete button with the records. And when we click on delete, to make sure like we don't click on it by accident and the record is gone forever, we put a failsafe in. So watch what happens here. Click delete and I have a brand new, not a screen, but a whole new object show up. This is a rectangle with some text and some buttons on it. I can click on yes and it would go away forever, or click oops, didn't mean to do that, and click on no. So if you've ever wanted to put in some kind of confirmation pop-ups or what we call kind of like a soft delete, check out session 4 if you haven't already, and I go through that whole process. But for now, let's add on to this. First thing I want to do is put an actual header up here. And I want it to be very similar to what we did on our main screen with the Trojan Check-in app. So rather than going through the whole process of putting in a rectangle to going into the insert, icons, rectangle, label, etc., I have two options to take a little bit of a shortcut. Option 1 is I could copy and paste each one of these separately into here on my second screen. Or if I know I'm going to do this for multiple screens, I can make a quicker shortcut and do it once only. So what I'm going to do is take label header 1 up here, or just label header, and control click rectangle header, so I have both of them selected. And now I'm going to come over, hit the ellipses, and click on group. And so this makes a whole group for me. So now both things they're all attached to this group right here. And I'm going to rename group 2 to group header. So group header, which is great. Now watch what we can do. I'll hit the ellipses, going to hit copy, go to the screen that I want to put it on. I do a right click on the screen and click on paste. And now it's there. Now obviously, we're going to have to do a little bit of modifications with this. So the first thing is I'm going to take my gallery, shrink it down some, and now I'm going to move this whole thing. Now this is where you have to be careful. It's a little bit finicky. I like the spacing to be the exact same. So if I want everything to move together. And in order to do that, what I found is the easiest is to come over to your tree view, select the entire group, which is group header 1. Now, you don't start moving things around until you see the crosshairs. When you see the crosshairs, then it will all move together as one unit. So I'm going to move this up. Perfect. So let me show you what would have happened if I didn't do it that way. What I've seen other students in the past that have done is they come in here to try to move something, and look what just happened. They thought they were moving the whole group, but they were only moving the rectangle because of where they had selected. So I'm going to undo that step to make sure it looks good. All right. And I'm going to take this gallery. We'll nudge it back up to here. All right. Now, Trojan Check-in app, which is fine, but I want this to be, what is this screen dedicated for? So I'm going to come over to the label. And I want to select just the label itself, which the text currently says Trojan Check-in app. And I'm going to change that. This is the great thing about the copy and paste feature. It's just so quick to make your changes. And I could have done this over here in the actual text box for properties, but I like to do everything in the formula bar. And I'm just going to say student location. Student locations, because this is all of the records. Because the goal is that we see all the records for a certain student. Okay, looks pretty good. Now, one of the other things that we would need here is once we're on this screen, we currently don't have a way to get back to the main screen. So what we want to do is put in a button that will take us back to the main screen. So we know how to put buttons in. We go to the insert ribbon and we click on button. So insert a button. I'm going to bring this down to the bottom. And for the button text, I could go over here to where it says button, or I could do a double click, or I could go with the button selected to the property drop down, go all the way down to text, and do it here. And I'm going to do something like, you know what? Okay, so what we could do is I could go back to home screen, right? Which would be fine. And I could put some action on here and it would take me back to the home screen, but we could make it a little bit better than that, right? I'm thinking this takes up a little bit too much space. Let's make it more user uh, nice looking, so to speak. So I'm gonna get rid of this and instead put an icon to have me go back to the main screen. So I'm gonna go to insert, I'm gonna go with an icon. Again, this would just be your complete preference of what you think. And usually there is a nice home icon here. So we're gonna come down here. There's usually one that looks like the home button. I probably already passed it. Let me try that over again. I wish you had a way to search these, but right now, just with this drop down, there's the home button. So I'm gonna put home here, and I'm gonna bring this down to the bottom. This is just where I want to put it for now. And with this selected, I have a few things. Currently, with this one here, I'm going to go to this property dropdown of my icon, which is the home button. And it says icon 1 here. So I'm going to rename this to the home button, even though I know it's an icon, but I'm still going to rename it home button. And let's see what we have over here. We've got some hover colors. So a hover color means as you're hovering over it, it would actually change colors. But I think I just want to mess with the original color. And let's go back and call upon one of those variables that we've used. We set those up at the very beginning in session 2, I believe. So I'm going to go with var, and let's go with the secondary JWJ color. So var JWJ secondary. I like that. Looks pretty good. So now the goal is, when somebody clicks this, it takes them to the home screen. So the only thing I have to do is put some action on here. And so I'll show you the easiest way to do navigation is with a button or an icon selected. You come up to the action ribbon up here, and we're going to go action, and there's this nice navigate right here. So I'm going to say navigate me, and it says, well, where do you want it to go to? I want it to go to the search student screen. So we're going to go search students, and then you can have all sorts of different screen transitions, etc. We'll just go with we'll go with cover, make it kind of fancy here. So let's try this out. Let's see if it worked. So I'm gonna hit play, come down here, let's hit the home button, and whew, it did that nice little cover screen. And this is the main screen, but it currently has Rishi in there, so we put that back to nothing, and now we can search through any of our students. So it looks pretty good. We're getting there. However, the one thing with building apps is sometimes you do something and you realize, I think it would have worked better if it was different. And so as I was looking at this to come up with this next session, I said, you know what, I really don't like that when I hit this button, it shows me all of the student records. Because what I'm thinking this home screen should be more for the teacher or whoever to find a student, select the student, and then that starts the check-in process. And maybe this screen should be all student locations, but this is where our front office could start to search for a student, and then all of their locations would actually start showing up rather than just one student dedicated. So here's what I'm thinking we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit of an overhaul of this screen here. So here's what I want to happen. I want to put up here for my front office staff to have just a quick button that will take them to the second screen to where they can see all the current check-ins, the most recent to the oldest of everything. So that way they could just see, hey, has any student ever recently been checked in? So let's do that. So I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna take my gallery, I'm gonna skinny it up or make it a little bit less tall. I'm going to put a button down here, and this one I'm going to make very specific. So I'm going to go insert button, I'm going to bring it down here. We'll change the color in a second. And I'm going to do the text over here this time just to show you it can be done. And this is just going to be very specific. See current location of any student. And I'm going to have that stretch all the way across. And let's change that color for the button. So I'm going to go here, come all the way up to color. Actually, no, I'm going to go to fill for this one. And this one, we're going to go var. Let's call in that secondary color again. Okay. So front office staff, I'm going to make this a little bit, nudge it right up here. They go, oh, this is the check-in app. This, if I see current location of any student, okay, let me click on it and let me have it go to the location screen. So I'm going to come to the button. I could go to Action and go to Navigate, but let me show you the other way. The other way is with the button selected. In your property box, you're going to have an On Select. So when we come to On Select, what do we want to happen when somebody hits this? We want them to navigate to another screen. So I'm going to type in, instead of false, we're going to go with navigate. So the navigate, it's going to say, okay, there's two places you can navigate. Which one do you want to go to? I want to go to the student location. And then if I hit comma, I can go to all those different kind of transitions. So we'll do something, we'll go with uncover this time. Or actually, you know, let's just go with none. So we don't need to have anything fancy there. So we'll go screen transition dot none, and boom, we got it. So let's see if it works. Gonna hit play. See current location of any student. Okay, so you see how that hover color, we can change that color to be something different. So that's called the on hover. But for now, that blue is okay. We might make a modification next session. All right, cool. But now here's what I want. Remember, this is all Charlie. I want to see all of my student locations. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change the way that this gallery is working, because we wired this gallery up on our last session to be based off of a click from the first screen. So I'm going to come to my gallery, and the items, this is what I want to change. I don't want it to be based on a student I selected from the first gallery. So I'm going to simply come in and make it very basic to start with. I'm just going to say I want all student locations to be in here. So student locations. So now if we look here, and I'm going to make this come down bigger now, we see all the students, Rishi, Deja, Jack, etc. So that part's pretty good, right? But for our office staff, if they want to see this in some kind of order. So if we're thinking about it, a parent comes in to check them out, and if they want to go, let's just see if they've been checked in recently. They come to this screen, and based on the date time, if we could have the newest check-in first, that would be pretty good, right? So let's do that. Let's do a sort on these records here. So in front of student location, we're going to go with the command. So I'll zoom in here. So items, I've got the gallery selected. The items is equal to the student location, which is fine, but now I want it to be in a certain order. So I'm going to say, let's sort this. And I want to do a sort a student location. That's the source. So now I hit comma to get to the next part. And now I'm going to zoom out so we can see a little bit better. I want it to be based on check-in, date, and time. So let's see if we can get this in. Check-in, date, and time. All right. And then, okay, so that's how it's going to sort. We're going to have to tell it which way do we want it. So I'm going to go with descending, meaning I want the latest one first. So let's see if it does what I'm thinking it's going to do. So descending, let's hit enter, and ooh, it is working perfectly. August 11th, 10:56, 9:46, etc. So I like the way that this is working. Okay, but let's imagine this. So that for right now, this would work because if it was August 11th, front office would be like, oh, only 2 people have been checked in. So if your child is not Sporthy or Deja, they should be in the lunchroom where they're supposed to be. But if we wanted to scale this out, and we think of a high school that might have 1,500, 2,000 students, we might have a lot of check-ins. So for August 11th, if we hit it, we might see 6 already, and we don't want to have to maybe scroll down. So the last thing that we're going to do for today, and then we'll be done with this session, is we're going to put another search bar up here. And we've done a search bar before, but we're just a little quick review, because I think this will make it better. So I'm going to take that whole gallery, skinny it up a little bit, and I'm going to put in a search bar. So the way you put in a search bar is we go to the insert ribbon, and we click on text, and then a text input. So I'm going to put this text input right here. And this is going to be the search bar. So the default says text input. Don't like that. So I'm coming over to the default in the right-hand properties pane and going to put nothing in there. So that way when it does its initial search, it's not really searching for anything. So I'll see all the records to begin with. My hint text is going to be search for a student. I think that's pretty simple. Let me spell it right. So we're going to go search for a student. All right. So everything's looking pretty good, except the only problem is this is just some random text input. It is not talking to this gallery. So we have to have it to be able to talk. So the way we do that is we're going to say gallery. The items, which currently is giving me all of the items in my records, well, I want these items to be searchable. So to make it searchable, it's really simple. We're going to go to everything that we currently have, and we just say, hey, all of these records that you're giving me, I want to search them. So in front of all of them, we just start typing in search. And search says, give me a source. Well, we've already got the source. This is the entire source right here. And notice if you click the down arrow, anytime you see a down arrow underneath your formula bar, if you click it, it gives you what actually is going to come back in a second. This is showing you what the sort student location actually brings back. It brings back an actual data type table. So that's pretty nice. It's a preview of what you're looking at. So I've given it a table, I've given it a source. So the next thing it says is, okay, you need to give it text. So I'm going to hit comma to get to the text. And the text says, where is the search text coming from? Well, the search text is coming from the search bar, which is called text input 1. Now, technically, I probably should rename that to like search text locations, but I'm just going to keep it text input 1. So text input 1. And it's saying, wait, that's a control. You can't search a control. To search, we need actual text. So we say, oh, yeah, give me from text input 1 dot, give me the text in there. And now I can put that over, and now look, it says data type is text. Great, because that's what we needed. So now I can go to the next part and say, well, what column do you want this searchable on? And I want this column to be searchable on the student name. So if we couldn't remember what our columns were, we can scroll down because these are all the columns available to us. So we've got location, name, and there it is. So I want name. Now I've put in the column. Now I can close it out with my parentheses. And see, again, this is giving you a preview. So let's see if it works. I'm going to hit play. So now I'm saying, you know what? The person I'm looking for isn't here. I'm really looking for Jack. So now Jack, and notice I get all of Jack's locations along with his most recent check-in. And his oldest check-in would be at the bottom of his records. So I think this is just a little bit better of an idea for this check-in app that we have created. So that's the end of session 5. We talked about how you can do a quick modification on an app because it's going to happen. We talked about how you can make groupings and reuse them in other parts of the screen. We took a gallery, we made it searchable, we made it sortable as well. We put a button in here that's going to take us back to the home screen. All right, we put this to make it super easy for our front office to go, I don't need to worry about this. I just want locations. Take me to my location list, and I've got it right here. The last thing that we would do is we would save this out. So let's go File, and then we could just click on Save, or we could have done a Control S there. And again, just because I've saved it doesn't mean the people who I've already given access to, they would not see what I've just done. They would only see Session 4 app. In order for Session 5 to become public and live, you actually have to click on Publish. Once we publish this version, now everyone that we've shared this to, they will get the update to the app. So I hope this was helpful. Put in comments below. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like.